Hi, it's Kevin May, the Editor-in-Chief of PhocusWire. So, PundIT Show number 15. We're doing this one not live, but we recorded it here at the Phocuswright Conference 2018 in Los Angeles. So thank you very much, all of you joining. I'll introduce you formally and then we'll get a lot more informal. So, Stephen Taylor, Senior Vice President for Enterprise Solutions in Sojern. Kirsteene Phelan, the Acting CEO, Rome to Rio. And last but not least, Valyn Perini, the VP of Strategic Partnerships at Law One. Thank you very much for joining us. So,
pleasure. 20
minutes of punditry and a bit of a chat. We'll start with you, Stephen. What do you think so far? What have you heard that's kind of excited you? Hasn't excited you? You've been kind of bored by?
I very rarely get bored at these things, Kevin, but I think I like the first day or so when you get all the startups, the early phase business. So many of these big events are the same very senior people talking, and that's always great to hear as well. We want to hear the CEO of Trip or others. It's interesting, but to actually get the people who are willing to be a bit more opinionated, who are trying to point out, hey, there's a flaw in that model, something needs to change. I've enjoyed that.
Did you see any flaws in any of the things that you saw?
There was a lot of stuff on the first day, which is just, I think we're all just, I think one of the panelists was calling them out, just all, travel is a gazillion-dollar business. I can get X, and so there's some very simple, this is huge, and I just want this, rather than what are you really trying to solve? What is the thing? And that addressable audience may only be this big, but it can be a super cool addressable audience. It just isn't the whole of travel. But that's people trying to think big, and that's no harm in that.
There's nothing wrong with thinking big.
No, absolutely.
So, thinking big or thinking realistically.
Well, so one of the things that struck me was the AI all the time, right? All AI all the time, and a lot of it
was blockchain all the time last year, though. To be fair, there was only one or two.
And the one company that really was basing their technology on blockchain never said the word.
Yeah. And we had him in the studio afterwards, and that came up. He said, "Oh, I deliberately didn't mention it because people either go, oh."
And I was listening to him, and I thought, wait. What? This sounds like blockchain.
Yeah.
And he didn't actually say it.
So what did you just say? Distributed ledger every time?
It's distributed technology
like
with nodes and total security and all of that.
But I think that's a great point, because I was thinking about this before I even got here. You're sort of thinking that was going to be my hobby horse. Companies going, we're the first blockchain company to do, and you almost guarantee, this is very rude, but the company that says it's going to be the first blockchain company to do X is going to fail, because by definition, again, you're not thinking about the solution. You're thinking about what I'm trying to solve, how I'm trying to solve it. You're thinking about the technology.
That's true for any type of new technology?
Yes.
The company that says we're going to be the first ones to succeed applying AI to airlines is probably not going to be.
The point of AI, AI is everywhere. It's doing, it's undeniably cool stuff. There's stuff we're all doing, our business, I'm sure your business, that you couldn't do if you weren't doing AI, machine learning technology. But it's like, what are you trying to achieve? And it's all around us doing things all the time. But we don't have to talk about it. It just makes stuff work better.
But people are talking about it. And one of the things I thought was interesting was, 4 or 5 years ago, everything was all about trip inspiration, right?
Sure.
Inspire you to travel. I'm going to show you beautiful pictures. I'm going to build a curated OTA. Don't you remember that? beachota.com and,
that's right.
and kidsota.com. So now what they're doing is they're applying AI to basically search, right? So that they can provide deep dives into the data to be more targeted in their inspiration. So that was actually quite interesting.
Does that mean, let's bring you in here, Kirsteene.
Okay.
Do you think that if AI had been around when all the trip planning startups were on the scene in 2009 and 2010, more of them would have succeeded and things may have played out a different way?
I think one of the challenges with that is that there is this assumption that people will only go and look at one website and stay loyal to one website whenever they're doing their search and comparison when it comes to their trips. And that's simply not the case, because it's a search and comparison environment. You're going to look widely in order to get the best deal or the best experience or the best hotels. So I think that there's this ongoing desire to be the one-stop shop, and I just don't think that is really ever going to be the case in travel. It's it's so budget. There's so much budget and time constraint associated with the leisure traveler in particular. The budget and time needs of a business traveler is different as well. So I think even with AI, the idea of being one-stop trip planning is probably still not a viable idea.
Do you think that's the same in sort of Asia Pacific as it is? Because I think that's broadly true in Western Europe, US. But a lot of the Asian business seem to be going the other way, the really big guys, Chinese guys, going the other way, which is
captive audiences.
we will solve this soup to nuts all the way.
But they also have support that government support that companies in the West don't have, right? So I think there's a difference. I think what might have happened is that it may have changed. We may have had better search and better inspiration, but we still would have had 2 or 3 companies because you're exactly right. People want choice. So there'll never be a market owner.
The illusion of choice, anyway.
We want a choice between 2 or 3.
Right,
Yes.
and almost like what we had today with Booking and Expedia, right? So you think about that. I mean, you have this duopoly, and then everybody else who's trying to catch their.
No, I'm going to pick you up because they will both say inevitably, but both Mark
they will.
Focuswright and Glenn Fogel will say it's not a duopoly because between us we only have 11% of the market. What do you say to that?
That the remaining 89% is spread amongst a gazillion providers that have teeny tiny pieces of the market, no influence.
Right.
That's my response.
Okay. This year's theme here is the power paradox. There's a sharp intake of breath there. Valyn. Forgetting the name, the concept behind it, what do you think?
What is the concept behind it?
The concept behind it is that the powerful shouldn't rest on their laurels. That there is actually room for people to still unseat them. They're not as powerful as perhaps they might think. I think that's how broadly I understand it, and they shouldn't, there's opportunity still despite the power. So why did you go?
Oh, just because Phocuswright always has these sort of inscrutable themes
Okay.
to their events. but your definition,
talking.
but your definition is true. Actually, what I really like is the Twitter conversation about what to name the mascot. That's my favorite.
I've had little time to check that fine.
There's an ongoing
Is
Twitter
that
conversation about what to name that thing, that griffin with a helmet on, or whatever it is. Yes. So
let's come back to that again. Names for the griffin.
So
But do you see that? I mean, I don't know how much it was talked about, but we saw a little bit with Airbnb and some slowing of growth, or booking. You can't keep adding bed nights, so there becomes a sort of point at which they have to do something different or go deeper, and that seems to be. I don't think they disappear, but that seems to be where there's opportunities for other people to go. At the moment, there's been sheer power drives. Just volume gets bigger and bigger, and the network effect, and you're bigger, and then suddenly it's like, okay, that alone can't sustain you anymore. There are no more hotel rooms to add.
Right.
What do you do
more
next? Where do you go next? And then you start have to do other things which are not so core, and other people can sometimes do those better or add value on top of it better. Maybe.
Yeah, there does come a point where this, as you say, and people talk about it a lot, is that the big two at some point may start saying we're going to stop feeding the hand that might start taking away our customers. And we're talking about Google, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what is it, do you think, when does it become a tipping point for that decision to be made, or is it going to be something else?
Well, I thought it was really interesting that Barry Diller came out against Google recently. That felt like a very new direction for someone to be taking. So I think that perhaps a tipping point is upon us. I think that perhaps Expedia may have looked at the results and seen something that they didn't like, and are now actively speaking against Google.
And it's a combination of that, and just they're doing so much more in hotels.
Yeah.
They're doing so much
Absolutely.
better in flights.
They really are.
Oh, they're just starting to do tours and activities.
Yes, absolutely.
And they seem to have, what other people think, they seem to have already won in hotel meta. I mean, that Google hotel ads, you then combine it as that comes together with AdWords and that bunch. I mean,
Yeah, well, you would know, right?
given sort of rate
Given your
parity or anything,
business.
I mean, that, I don't know, that seems an incredibly strong point. So I'm not sure what yes, people can start pulling dollars from them, but they're already ahead in that world. And I don't see that they'll take on the OTAs directly in that way, but that meta model, they're just
At some
very,
point,
very
though,
good at.
to your point, Expedia and Booking I would think they would get tired of, paying over lots and lots of money to
Oh,
Google.
undoubtedly.
And so, but I don't know what that, I don't know what that number would be for them.
Well, that's why, I mean, they invested heavily in trying to, can we make Facebook work? We're finding them coming back into areas that they previously didn't look at, like programmatic advertising, some of the older stuff, because it's absolutely, we have to have things that aren't just that. So I think that's for certain, but whether that's like a whole, that's just, they still need the, they still have to, they need the volume, they need everything that's there. So absolutely, like any individual hotel, they want a balanced portfolio of distribution or leads or whatever you want to, but I don't think that's we're going to, I don't know, pull our money or change completely.
Kirsteene, you're the former head of your organisation, Rod Cuthbert. It's been very, very vocal over the years, not only about TripAdvisor, but more recently about Google.
That's true.
Do you share his view that it is, I don't want to use the word evil, but I mean that's the kind of direction he's going. He doesn't see them being of any use whatsoever to the wider ecosystem, no?
I don't think they're evil. I think they play a part in the strategy you have for channel management. As Eric from Click said on stage today, that he views Google as a channel, and I have a tendency to share his view, and I would like to partner with Google more closely. We are a customer. We buy ads on Google, so we really want to maintain a great relationship with them. And we're also a publisher, so we work with their ad network on the other side. So I think that, it's one of those businesses. In Google's view, they believe that they are doing everything they can to help the customer. It's disrupting our industry, so everyone is very cautious about their relationship with Google in that way. I think there needs to be more open dialogue. I'm not sure that the dialogue with Google is all that open. They come to the conferences, they have the travel council, all of those sorts of things, but I wonder if they are being really clear and upfront about what it is that they are wanting to do in the travel industry and how they are going to balance their ads business with their travel business, because I wonder if even those two industries are talking to each other.
Right, and how do hotels see it though? Because on the one hand, Google seems like a good friend at the moment, and it's an alternative to the OTAs.
So, hotels have a love-hate relationship with third parties anyway, right? Because they as they hand over inventory, they lose control of pricing, and so it's a real balance there between using the available distribution channels where consumers do in fact go, but still maintaining rate integrity, not so much rate parity, but rate integrity, and reaching your own revenue goals. So hotels are not stupid. They understand that people go to Google for search and inspiration and to book, so they have to be there. They understand it's a viable channel.
I think the rest of us just have to put, less energy into complaining about Google and more into no, but it's like, what are you going to? I mean, absolutely, there's going to be lobbying there and things, but what are you going to do? The only logical strategy is figure out, as you're saying, how do you partner? Can I do something on top of what they do that adds another level of value? Can I use their infrastructure, their phenomenal reach there, and then do something that gives me a reason to? Because if I can't, then absolutely, Google is going to win. And the same with Facebook as it grows into that. You might not like it, but that's the real world.
It's the fight for brand loyalty as well. You have so much SEM and SEO traffic, great. Once people come to your website, you should be offering them an experience that means that they're going to come back to you.
Yeah. That's right.
And they will trust you in the future.
Absolutely.
Well, it's our job. It's my company.
Yeah, it's absolutely my job.
We don't interact with Google because our hotels are our customers, and so and we talk to their guests on their behalf post booking. So I do expect at some point Google will reach down. Will come down that funnel. So why wouldn't they? They have the means, and they're smart enough to figure it out. It's just a natural progression. But they're not somebody we have to deal with at this point. But we figure we will.
There's an interesting comment. Kirsteene Phelan, who's runs Holtzbrick Ventures, which is a VC in Europe. He was head of kayak in Europe, Swoodoo and things like that. Meta. And we were talking to him a couple of weeks ago, and he said VCs, and presumably he was talking about himself at the time as well, was saying that if Google is the most obvious competitor, they're not going to fund them, many of these startups, just because they see the threat level is so high. And I just thought that was quite interesting, almost waving a white flag.
Well, VCs want their money, right? So, I mean, if it's not, I mean, that's just another risk consideration. They would.
So he was basically saying that VCs won't fund things that Google could
do. That
do.
they think Google could do or Google does.
I mean, that's been an old line for many years, but to me, it was the reverse was always true. You know, if you look at a business area and you go,
an exit, isn't it?
If you go, Google could do this, you know, well, that's pretty cool. It's like if Google might want to do this, this is
a half full, half empty.
Yeah, this is an opportunity. This is a thing that
Right.
clearly has resonance. This is something that somebody needs. This is something.
Right. Either Google would
you would
do it
do
themselves.
literally nothing if
Right.
you didn't do anything that Google couldn't choose to do at some point.
And it's not only Google, it's Facebook, it's Amazon.
Yeah,
It's like all
well,
the
I think
big
that's
players,
Amazon's going.
really.
Amazon's going to be the really. I don't know what
Amazon,
other people
agree.
think where they're going, but this is going to be the really fascinating one. I think.
I
Amazon.
think they are I think they're a great example of innovation, of making it easier for customers. And I think that with Amazon Go, the new supermarket product, their new retail product, I think that they're really starting to take everything they've learned from an online environment and take it back into an offline environment in a really interesting way.
Imagine Amazon doing things for hotel. I mean, forget all the data monetization and everything else.
Oh, imagine if you could just
the
walk into
user
a
experience,
hotel.
exactly, that
Right.
Amazon
That'd be so
focuses
great.
on.
Right.
You have like a profile or something and you just like walk into the hotel, everything's paid for, you
Yeah.
go in,
Yeah.
you got your bucket of champagne, which is obviously the first thing I ask for in a hotel.
And regarding AI,
But you'd only get that if you were a Prime customer.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
They would have
Well,
to do
you
that.
get
They would have to do it. It
You
would
get
have
the
to be
cheap
something.
Got a
stuff if
ready-made
you're not a
loyalty
Prime
scheme.
customer.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
Right.
Amazon, if you're listening.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, if
Champagne
we
plus.
we keep talking about AI, I mean, Amazon is the king of AI, right?
Yeah.
They have so much data, they have so much, their algorithms are so powerful, and they have so many of them
Yeah.
that if you talk about applying that kind of AI machine learning to the data in the industry, that was another thing, and this must have interested you, the microsegmentation presenters yesterday. Perfect Price, and then my favorite, Tiny Clues. I love that
they were
name.
very popular.
But the application of basically AI to really dig into segmentation and identify who your customers actually are, or identify email recipients who will actually convert. I find that to be fascinating.
Yeah, I do too.
Oh, and that's a real, I mean, it's a logical use of AI, machine learning applied to audiences, because everything else we were saying is you were saying particularly is true, is people search, browse, look, compare, even, you know, they'll go to Expedia and Booking and
of course
Direct
they will.
and an airline and Trip, and then compare and then go back and then do it again and then talk to somebody and then do something else.
Yeah.
How, if you're an individual hotel, if you're a brand, do you make sense? Well, it can only be people that are going, because it isn't, I've done this, therefore I do this. It's, here's 50, 80, 100 different variables, so one of which will predict the next thing you're going to do. And it isn't going to be, I just looked at a flight or I just did something obvious.
And the application of all that data it's not counterintuitive, but it's deeply intuitive.
Yeah.
But it's deeply intuitive to a way that you just can't, if you think your way through, like if you're evaluating a set of individuals of who would convert, who should I communicate with, we have our criteria, but if you apply this kind of really deep thinking to it, you get a completely different set of criteria.
What I think is really interesting is that, I mean, I think we saw Bill Gurley this morning from Benchmark, but he was talking about, they're talking about voice and other things that won't succeed, but it was...
I have to agree with you on that one.
Anyway, we come back to that one, yeah. Talk about other things
How
that
much
won't
time
succeed.
do we have?
But it was saying, you know, a part of his reasoning was, you know, I'm not going to go, okay, Google, do this because I don't trust Google. And the interesting dynamic is, I haven't done a survey, but I think we probably do trust Amazon. I mean, Amazon and Apple, which I don't think really plays in this space, but have done this really good job because the value exchange is clear. They're all about user experience. I know they have a shed load of data. I know with Amazon Go, which I now use literally opposite our store, you're walking in, you take something off the shelf and walk out. It's visual recognition. The data on that linked to my cars is, but I think I've got a clear value exchange and a phenomenal user experience, as opposed to somebody's just taking my data and monetizing it. They don't look like they're monetizing your data. They look like
You get something in return.
you're getting a better user experience, and that's the one you trust, I think, in those which is going to make them super interesting.
Well, that's why I think it's so great, because I come from online retail. I come from Etsy.com, and one of the things at Etsy.com, Amazon, eBay, all of these online retailers are doing is they're trying really hard to bridge that offline and online experience. I don't really see that happening so successfully in online travel. I know we talk about OTAs, everything's very online. It's like, how are we translating all of this information that we have and the experience so that you can still have that offline experience? I mean, imagine what it would be like if there was like Booking.com travel agents in the world and you like walked into a shop. I mean, for some people, it might be like, well, that's just a Stone Age idea. But one of the things that I think that, Etsy, when I was there, we created a payment system. We had offline marketplaces. We were able to get lots of brand recognition and brand development and a fantastic network effect by employing this offline strategy. I would like to see more of that.
So
Online
Uplift did that yesterday in the launch presentation. They have this ability to pay monthly, and they've put it on their websites, but now they've got this product that puts it in front of travel agents.
Oh, fantastic.
So it's that type of thing. I mean, we even get that in our business where we have these, all our offers are generally presented online, email, or web. But we're working with 2 customers who want us to be able to present them in front of their call center agents, and which we can do. Nobody ever asked us, right?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing about that, and I was talking to Brian in here a couple of hours ago, is that's over here. Wow, it's amazing. Where we're from, Stephen and I, Thomas Cook and Tui have been doing that since the 70s.
Right, and so they've been ignored, right? In this run up in the last sort of 8 years, they've been completely ignored, and now certainly the global hotel companies are starting to think about how they can extract value out of their call centers. And one of the ways to do that is to put the same types of tools in front of their agents that they put in front of their guests.
There's a company just out there, ResponseTap, which I know really well. It's a UK founded, New York company, and I got involved quite early on, and it's call center, call tracking. It's like at the first level when we were first looking at it, it's call center. Everyone's trying to get out of call centers. You're trying to get out of call centers because you don't know how to use call centers. People want to talk, a subset, not 100%, subset of people want to talk to real people. What you've got to have is the data, the tools that connect that conversation to this, to this, to this. Now, I can use that for benefit. And actually, a call center becomes a very cost-effective thing to do and build out, as opposed to just loads of people answering things you don't want, you'd rather just happened online for free.
Okay, we're going to wrap things up now. So some quick fire questions.
Okay.
If that's okay.
We're ready.
And we'll start with you on the first one, Stephen. So what do you think is the number one problem affecting the industry in one sentence?
I can't possibly do the number one problem in one sentence. I think that the sheer fragmentation across hotels, hotel technologies, the solutions are so obvious, but there's nobody who's the right company to solve that because the independents are too small and the big guys nobody trusts. So that fragmentation of technology in hotels.
Okay.
That's 5 sentences,
Same question.
Same question.
I've never worked in an industry that had so many people in partnership and competition with each other.
Okay.
It's really interesting.
Okay.
I don't know if it's a problem, but it's definitely unusual.
Okay.
And I wonder how those relationships will develop over time.
Okay, Valyn?
It's a version of Stephen's answer, but it's specific to the ownership structure in the hotel industry. So we have in the hotel industry, you have a building, this building that we're in. It has a brand name on the outside. It might be owned by somebody like Goldman Sachs, and it might be operated by a company like Interstate Hotels. So you have three stakeholders in the business. So 3 entities that have responsibilities, have decision making, have input.
Which is why the innovation at the level of user experience doesn't happen.
It is a flaw in the industry.
Okay. Stephen, if you were so dismayed by these problems, what other sector would you like to go and work in?
I'd love to support a guy who was really into Depeche Mode and was really was trying to write a book and was trying to...
You say the best thing. Kirsteene, what other sector would you like?
I actually really love the sector, and I see a real...
You're still relatively
I'm new. I'm very new. I've only been in for 2 years. No, I haven't been turned into a shell of a human yet, but there's still time. I love it. I see a lot of opportunity right now. Coming from Etsy.com, where we took offline sellers who had little experience online by education and giving them the tools in order to succeed. I see a lot of opportunity right now for tours and activities, and there's lots of growth to happen there. So I'd like to see some education tools for tours and activities.
You would say the music industry, correct?
Yes.
So that you could play in it or something like that.
That's right.
Yeah. So you would like to.
Yes. If I was going to leave travel, yes, I would be a rock and roll drummer.
Amazing.
We can do a band here then.
Yeah.
Can you sing?
I can't sing, but I can design jewellery and merch. So I'd be a jewellery designer again.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do the tour posters.
Yeah, exactly. This is sort of...
You heard it here first, podcast listeners. So thank you very much, Valyn, Kirsteene,
thank you,
and Stephen Taylor. Thank you everybody for listening. This was PundIT Show number 15. We'll be back with number 16 very soon. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.